Welcome y'all, my name's Loanna and this is a little bit of homestead, and we're going to take a little garden tour today, and we're going to take a look at what the garden looks like in August. The good, the bad, and the ugly. Let's go. One of the first uglies of this August garden is the little black mosquitoes that are hovering around under the plants, and if I don't come out here with shoes, socks, long pants, they eat me alive. So that's what all that was about. If you haven't seen my garden before, I'll go ahead and tell you what I've got going on here. Here in the oldest part of the garden, I have 3 long beds in ground that have a path in the middle and all the way around that I have wood chipped. We'll take a look starting with the first row and work our way over. Let's just see what's going on. So here's what's going on. Unfinished projects. In my last garden tour, if you'll remember, I was going to harvest all of this sage. That didn't happen, but I'm going to now. Going to, I promise. Promise. This is Malabar spinach. I have planted this on the end of each of my trellises just because I think it's really pretty. And it will grow in the hot heat where regular spinach will not. And it tastes very similar to regular spinach. Really good. It has a little more of a leafy flavor than regular spinach, but it is very similar to regular spinach, and it will grow in the heat. And I love it because I think it looks like a fairy tale. It's so pretty, and it'll get even prettier. It'll just climb and do all the things. Along this first row, I had some cucumbers. Isn't that pitiful? And as you can see, I've got some weeds popping up. And I need to just come along and put down some more hay. If you have, but look how easy they just come right up. I mean, look, just like that. You deep mulch garden, if you have weeds, it's time to add more mulch. In my June video, you can see it was massive, and I cut everything down and fed it to the chickens. The snapdragons are starting to look really happy. Here's more of that Malabar spinach, and look, it is wrapping around my tomato plant. I gotta rescue that, hold on. Oh my goodness. There we go. We'll just tuck him back in here. And then we'll tuck him back through when we get around to the other side. That's one reason I love these cattle panels. I can just tuck things in, and look, we'll just get him all happy up here. Sometimes you have to make them behave. This is one of those tomato plants that we started from cuttings in one of the latest videos. This cucumber's been doing really good. We've harvested quite a bit off of it. What are you doing in there? Hey, Bubba. Are you eating tomatoes? I have these containers with peppers in them, and they are doing great. It is not an ancho poblano. Apparently is a shishito. That is not what I had labeled. So it looks more like a bell pepper. I don't care, as long as it's growing peppers. But the shishito is happy, and we need to harvest some. Oh my goodness. You didn't like the pepper? And on this whole back fence, I had cherry tomatoes. I had to pull most of those cherry tomatoes. They were just covered in blight. Now this sun gold, I don't know if it's a sun gold. Yes, it's a sun gold. It has done well. I mean, it's got some disease on it, but it just has kept growing and growing, and it is really good, and it's one of my favorites. One of the ways that I garden is I like to find plants that have either volunteered or they're thriving when nothing else is. They are just proven to be a stronger plant. That is the one that you want to save seeds from. Now there's a lot more to the seed saving that we can cover in another video, but I want to encourage you, don't overthink it, don't worry about it. Find your, something moved. I think we're safe. Just pull one of the good, healthiest looking fruits when it's at its peak. Take that one and save the seeds from it. It's not complicated. Don't overthink it. I will be saving seeds from this one, and I have a few other tomatoes that have done really well, and I want to keep them and reintroduce them next year. That's how we're getting a better garden next year from this year. For instance, this cucumber's done really well, and a lot of them just haven't taken off. Ew, I let this one go a little too long. One of the things with your cucumbers, you want to pick them. You want to pick them often. You do not want to let them get away from you and get too big, because a plant's purpose in life is to reproduce itself. It wants to make seed. So if you leave fruit on and it gets too big, that signals to the plant that it's done its job, it's made its seed, it doesn't need to do anything else. So when you have cucumber plants, or any plant, the more you pick it, the more you get. So let's get this off. And I think there's another one down here that I let go too far. I did, but it's okay. It didn't let it go that far. Now I could get in here and prune on this thing like you're supposed to, but I haven't. Like I said, it's been buggy, hot, muggy, rainy, dry, all the things. It is starting to get a little something going on, but it's been here a while. I'm happy. Cucumbers and tomatoes, again, for supper. I had a squash strategy that I talked about in my last video. We'll cover that in a minute because I got something bad to show you. However, in most of the containers, I had several things planted. Like here I have some basil, and like I said, my eggplants, and these are the only two that did really well. I need to look at those varieties. I don't know if it was the variety or if it was just cause. Y'all, that's my first eggplant this season, and there may not be many more. I get flea beetles so bad, I have a lot of trouble growing eggplants. Does anybody else have that problem? I've given this a lot of thought. One of the things with planting in the containers is that you usually, where it's not on the ground, you can avoid blight. However, I filled these containers with soil that I got from my pathways that had decomposed from the wood chips. So if there's blight in my soil, I put blight in my containers. Live and learn. The Juliet tomato, and it's done really well. It's starting to get some disease pressure, but it's still producing, and it's doing really well. It's all the way up into the trellis. Down through here, I have a mixture of the tomato plants we started from cuttings. We have pepper plants, zucchinis, and some brassicas that are supposed to be heat tolerant, so they should do okay. I had bronze fennel, and I have a purple sage. After I cut that fennel out, I realized I had some white echinacea that I didn't know I had. Now this is lovage. I planted it once. Lovage is in the celery family, and it smells like celery leaves, and you can use that like an herb. This is comfrey, and I need to get in there and cut that down again. Comfrey is amazing. I've talked about comfrey before. Maybe we'll do a video on comfrey. We'll head back up this row on the other side, and this section will be finished, and we'll go look at the wild section. In this section, I have some more celery, some sweet alyssum. That's actually in the brassica family. And more celery. I have some basil. I need to harvest basil. And we have harvested here, and like I said earlier, look, that just comes up so easy. But if you have weeds when you're deep mulch gardening, just means you need more mulch. And what I like about the hay is it's super easy, not a lot of hard work to just come and toss some on top. Here's more sweet alyssum, and I have some, oh, that one looks like it's about ready to harvest. Now, bulb fennel, I did not know. It will cut and come again. Let's get in here and take a look at this. Now, I have already harvested, and you can see, let's see, right here, that's where I cut it off. And if you cut it off just above the ground, you will get more starts off of this. So if I keep harvesting correctly, I could get fennel way into the winter. And it may even overwinter. My friend Christy introduced me to the bulb fennel, and I had eaten fennel in restaurants, but I'd never grown any, and it's super easy to grow, and I didn't think I'd want it when she gave it to me, and it is, I really like it. It's one of my favorites, that and leeks. I didn't think I'd like growing leeks, and I do. I did not know that fennel would come, like cut and come again. And I ran across this video of an older gentleman, and he was an interesting little guy. And he was showing how to grow your fennel. And if I can find that video, but it's been, and it was a pretty little obscure channel, like me. He has several good videos that's just full of information that you don't hear anybody talking about at all. So I will really try to find that and put that in the description. I have some unexpected plans for this area that we'll come back and cover in a minute because I bounce around. I'm sorry. So I'm trying to rein it in. I'm reining it in. If I don't make out a real plan about how I'm doing my videos, I will bounce all over the place. So bear with me. Okay, and you can see I still have not addressed the strawberries. There's a theme here. Oh, here's a prime example of another devil. Oh, let's find him. Dang it. We'll come back and look for him in a minute. That's kind of my method of pest control, is I pinch him. So let's get this little guy going in the right direction. His little trindle, it'll take hold on its own. And we're back here at the end, and there's the container row. And remember, if you decide to cut out any tomato plants that still have green tomatoes on them, just hang them upside down somewhere, let them finish ripening on the vine. Most of the time they will. Here's my little makeshift, what's that thing everybody has? Green stalk. This is my Aldi green stalk, and it's done pretty well. Let's take a look at it. Up here I have a rosemary. This is a really spicy oregano, hot and spicy oregano that my friend brought me, and I thought that was weird of him. My mom lives in the sweetest little community, and her neighbors all like to get together and go to the greenhouses, and they usually bless me with some little surprise, and I think that's so awesome. Now, I have some strawberries that have put off a shoot, and you can see its little root. So if it gets just a little longer, I'm hoping I'll get a little strawberry plant there. And I'm going to do the same with this guy. Ooh, when it gets just a little longer. Now let's go around here. I put a jalapeno in here, and that thing's doing all right. Look at that. I'm not sure what that is. Christy, what is that? More strawberries. Look how pretty. Little mushroom. I'm gonna eat it. This is my first one. Oh. Oh well, I mushed him. It'll eat. Even mushed. Pretty good. I have some thyme. A little spider making its home in there. And more lettuce, basil. Okay, as we step over into the other part of my garden, you can see I've been pruning fruit trees. I have herbs in here, and I've cut a lot of those back, but they'll come up real nice real soon. But this, I realized the other day that I don't even notice this, and I don't like it, and it's taken up a lot of space that I could be using otherwise. I don't know why I don't notice it. I think it's like subconsciously I don't want to deal with it. I have another section down here that we'll go look at, and I'm the same way with it. Now we've just come from the upper part of the garden, and as you can see, there's a pathway in between this bed and the strawberries. So yeah, that's where we're at. In the video I did where I took some cuttings from my tomatoes, this is where I put my Romas, and something ate all of them except two. On the edge of this bed, next to the path that doesn't exist, I planted some peppers, and they are doing pretty good. They're doing pretty good. Look at that. That's this giant Marconi red bell. Is that right? That doesn't seem right. No, that one might be. And that's the end of that row. And there are my elderberries that I share with the birds. And as you look down on the back side of this garden, that is not just a mess. That is sweet potatoes in containers. And a shout out to my cousin Joe, who gets me these huge containers, and that is my favorite way to grow the sweet potatoes, is in the containers. Where I just cut this back, they all looked really pitiful, really bad, like that, except all over. And I cut these back, and look, we're getting new growth. So cut your echinacea back. If August has made your echinacea ugly, get the cutting. Okay, we just left that aisle, and now we are here at the arch, and it is wild and woolly. And this has been a good tomato. This one is a Bosque Blue, and it's bigger than a cherry tomato, and it has been an excellent producer, and it's been disease resistant as well. And then on the other side of the arch, on the end, I planted, this is blue cream berries, and it too has been a really good producer and very disease resistant. I'll grow these again. Now this little delicata, it's done for. It had gotten squash vine borers, and I tried to do surgery on it, and it lived for several months, but he's done. My lovely arch. I have a artichoke growing. I'm really surprised. It was kind of slow growth, but the head looks a little funky, so I don't know what's going to happen with that. I have peppers all down through here, and they have enjoyed the heat with just a little bit of shade. This is my favorite. It's called the habanada, and they'll turn a peachy color. Look at that. There's all kinds back in there. Oh, there you can see. And then we've got some of these chocolate bell peppers. They've done really well, and they're happy. And some ancho poblanos. You can barely tell what it says. And this says pizza pepper, so I'm pretty sure that this is wrong. I don't know what I did. But every year I swear that it'll be fine. I just use the permanent marker, but it doesn't. I'm gonna have to invest in one of those little UV protective gardening permanent markers. We're still inside the tunnel. That says Chinese string. Oh, that's what that is. That Chinese string. I planted an eggplant. They come here to die. And this cantaloupe, it's not gonna make it. Ooh, this is my favorite. This is holy basil, and it is wonderful. It's medicinal. Smells amazing. Smells amazing. And under here, I've got some more peppers. These have been my Cherokee purples. They've done really well. Okay, if you haven't seen already, I want to show you something that's so sickening. Monday evening when I was down here harvesting tomatoes, because everything's coming in all at once. And you know, really, even though the tomatoes have been hit with a lot of disease, I really have had a good harvest. And some of the tomatoes have really shined. But kind of looking at that same scenario, I was thinking, yes, this squash looks great. That way I can kind of show you guys a really good example of how you take plants that are thriving, they're thriving with the disease pressure, pest pressure, and they seem to be really resistant to it. And I was like, yes, this Tunisian butternut is going to be that plant. Not so much. So as disappointing as that is, I do have one that is growing over here in a container, and I started it just a little bit later, so let's hope that it makes it. We have that big guy, this one. Him. That one. There's one up there. And then I have these two here. I don't know if you can see them. This is very disappointing to me. I have a lot invested in these big old squash because, like I told you in another video, where my game plan was to start some winter squash a little later in the season and try to trick the pests and maybe bypass some of our heavy squash bug and squash vine borer pressure. That was my strategy. But it was so hot here that when it was time to plant my new little seedlings of my beautiful squash, I thought I saw something flying. It might have been one of those squash vine borer moths. You know, I used to come out here and sit more than I have been lately, and you really learn a lot when you're just in your garden more often, but with the heat and everything, and the bugs. I've not been out here like I should. So like I was saying, when it was time to plant my young seedlings from my winter squash that I had started, it was 98 degrees, 99 degrees. We'd been in a drought for well over a month, with just a few little random patches of rain. And I just didn't think, even if I babied them and watered them really well and took good care of them, that I just really didn't think they would make it. So I kept putting them out. And then we got some rain, and then we got some rain, and then we got some more rain. And I was not complaining about the rain. We needed it so bad. But it was one of those things where you just have to go, well, you know what? It's not going to go as planned, and it's okay. And you cannot let it get you down. It's just how it happens. However, one of the things that I had really staked a lot of food security on was the fact that I still had these huge squash growing. And I thought, oh, that's great. That'll last me. You know, they're huge. I thought, even if I just ate 2 a month, that's going to get me through the dead part of winter. So I was disappointed. I was out here Monday. I was not down in this part of the garden on Tuesday, and Wednesday when I walked out here, it was like this. So I was so discouraged. However, in the past, I have had squash that looked pretty rough, and I just leave it on the vine, and hopefully there's enough nutrients still in the vines and what leaves that are left to photosynthesize that some of these may fully ripen and to the point where they can cure and I can store them for the winter. We'll pray. But on the plus side, this is my first time growing pole beans, And let me show you. Ta-da! Aren't they pretty? Pretty, pretty. So we'll harvest us some beans, that's for sure. But the beans. The elderberries, the birds are enjoying the elderberries. I was able to harvest about 10 pounds of elderberries, even with all the bird pressure. And I'll be starting my elderberry syrup really soon and probably make some tinctures. Y'all, it's muggy out here. I had bought little rubber snakes to put in my elderberry bushes and on my blueberry bushes because I was tired of the birds getting all of my berries. And one day I was sitting over next to my garden in my swing. It's one of my favorite things to do. And I was just watching, and I noticed little birds just hopping around underneath my plants, and they were eating bugs from up underneath the plant. And I thought, well, why do I want to scare off my organic pest control? So I didn't use the snakes. So my solution to that is grow more berries. I'm growing some for us and some for the birds. And on this end of the garden, we have some cherry tomatoes. The squashes we're praying for. The beans, more cherry tomatoes. These are the sun gold, and they've done well down here too. And the sweet potatoes are all doing good. They're looking lovely. We'll probably harvest those in September. So now coming around these big pole beans, let's see if I can show you. I have another row of pole beans, and you can barely get through there. But the beans are growing really well, and I need to get to picking. This is another corner that I am blind to. I don't want to get back in there, but I will, because my asparagus is in there. Alrighty, coming past the little mulberry tree. Here's my raised bed, and I do not have any hay on it, and I need to get it covered, because you can see if something is not covered, you get weeds. And I had carrots in here and onions, and I've already harvested them. Raised bed, and I have a tomato. That sunflower volunteered, and I have my fig trees. Now the fig trees, they give me hope. Okay, so I'm sitting here where one of my raised beds is going to be. The other day my friend sent me a message. She was looking on Amazon, and they had the metal raised beds with the support in the middle. They're usually around $59, $69. And they had them for $29.99 or $29.98, something like that. And so I got on there and I went click, click, add to cart. And I ordered 2. Then I sat there a little while longer and I thought, click, click. I ordered 2 more. I wasn't really sure what I was going to do with them, but I knew I would do something with them, because I have been thinking I need to make a few changes in my garden. Now, I am not affiliated with that in any way, but I did go check, and on Amazon, those same beds are now like $35.99. And that may just be what they're showing me, because I've ordered some and they're trying to get a little extra more money out of me. But go check them out. I'll link them in the description, so go see. It might be a good chance for you to pick up a few raised beds. So let's pop back up here to the other garden. Like I was telling you earlier, I had plans for this area, and the plans are to add 2 of the raised beds up here. I'm going to go just beyond this celery here, and have it back there with the cattle panel, and I'll probably wait until the fennel is finished producing before I fill the bed, but we're going to go ahead and get those in place. And we're going to go over here to the other side of this garden bed and place one just beyond this sage here, back at the cattle panel starting, and that way they will look symmetrical in this area up here. And now let's go back down where we're going to put them at the Roma tomatoes. The Roma tomatoes are doing good. I did not get them tied up, so they are a hot mess, but they're still producing really good. I'm telling you, I've been a bad gardener this year. So what I did is I bought 2 beds that we're going to try to put together as one big long bed. And if that doesn't work, I'll just have 2 of the metal beds here along this area so that I can utilize this area and not dig down into the roots of the fig trees, because they run pretty shallow, and when I plant in here I dig into the roots. Okay, through the figgy jungle. And you can see, let's see if I can get back and show you the difference in these fig bushes. This one grows more out and open, and that one's growing more like a bush. So they are definitely 2 different varieties. As we get closer to fall, I will top these off, and what that'll do is stop the plant from producing more little figs and more foliage, and make it think about producing just the fruit. Like here you can see it has lots of figgies all down through here. So I will probably, because these, I don't think these little ones will have time between now and the frost to get fully mature and then ripen. So what I'll do is I'll probably snip this here, and that will force the energy into the figs and let these on the lower limbs ripen. Now I am super excited about this. Last year I maybe got about 4 or 5 figs off of these, and I think these are on their 3rd or 4th year. So yay. All right, now we're down here on the other end of where the Romas are growing, and this is a loofah. And I will do the same thing with that, just like the figs. It will, loofahs seem like they creep and they produce really slow, and you'll think you're not going to get any. Aw, kitty. So I'll do the same thing. I'll come along and clip these ends of these runners, and that'll make the plant quit producing new starts, and that'll give whatever fruit I have on the end here closer to the main branch time to mature, hopefully. At least that's the game plan. Now let's circle back around to the rest of this jungle. This is my plum tree that you can see I cut a lot off. That thing grew like crazy. My husband came out here and he said, "What are you doing? Do you know what you're doing?" I said, "Absolutely not, but I'm doing it anyway." This is another one of the figs, and it will do good. It gave me fruit last year too. I think it's the same variety as that other one over there. And there is my peach tree. I did not trim it. I like it a little more than my plum tree. And there's another fig tree down under this peach tree that needs to go. There's too much fig tree and peach tree all in one area. I'm almost done, baby. And we've made a complete circle. Oh, and this is a dwarf mulberry, and it needs some work too. I'm not sure how to prune that, but I'll figure it out. So that is the good, bad, and ugly of my no-till deep mulch garden here in East Tennessee. And if you have some good, bad, and ugly you'd be willing to share with us, please post pictures in the comments and let us know where you're from. I think it would be great to be able to encourage each other with our failures and our successes. So like all gardeners, I am really optimistic for the fall garden. So hang out with me and see how that turns out. It could go either way. We'll see. I really appreciate you all spending your time with me, and I thank you so much for hanging out with me. My name's Loanna, and this is a Little Bit of Homestead.